You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again. And today, man, we have another amazing interview. We have an artist, Mark and the Tiger, man. We're going to be talking to Mark today, based in LA, singer, songwriter, and alternative folk rock flavor. Man, he's doing big things. So we're going to learn all about his amazing new album that's out right now. That's Little Adventures. So first and foremost, Mark, welcome to the show. And how are you doing, man?
I'm so good. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
So real quick for the audience, a little homework for y'all. Go to markandthetiger.com. Once again, that's markandthetiger.com. And before we start talking about your amazing projects and stuff, Mark, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, man.
Well, I'm from Maine originally, or New England in general. I've been in LA for like 10 years, and just trying to get down to the grind like everybody else out here. I've been doing music for probably like the past 7 or 8 years, like very focused. I honestly, when I was growing up, I never really expected to do this. Like I sang and I did music and I did theater and all that, but it was something that I just kind of loved, and it was never something I thought I would fall into, and here we are. So it's cool.
And what's awesome is on your website, markandthetiger.com, where it says tour dates, it says to be announced, or should I say to be determined once the plague is over. I love that, man. Once the plague is over, yes, because we're all itching to get back to the concert life and all that good stuff. Man, what is it that you are looking forward to? Because I asked an artist not too long ago the same question. When you get back on stage and back to concert life, what is that one thing that you miss the most?
Oh man, I mean all of it, honestly. Just like, but there's there's that moment like in the middle of a show usually where just like, you've done a few songs, you've figured out the sound, and the audience is either into it or they're not. But like, there's that moment in the middle of the show where you just kind of look out and see everyone's face that I always just love. Because for me, like when you're in a show, you can't stop. So even if things are going really shitty, like there's nothing you can do about it. So it's this really great moment of just like surrender into the experience. It's cool.
And speaking of surrendering, man, in your bio, you talked about what you sent me for the prep for the show, that your whole platform of building a community as far as your listening audience, man, you want to help them celebrate themselves and expressing themselves. Let's dive into that, man, because that's the fingerprint of Mark, man. Tell the audience, what's that legacy that you're trying to leave when people are hearing your music?
Hell yeah. Well, it's been a very long road for me to get where I am. Not even like experientially, I guess. Like, I'm not saying I've had like a lot of hard times, but I think, every single person in this world goes through a long journey of trying to figure out who they are and to really kind of celebrate that. And, I've been working so hard to do that the past, 30 years really, but the past 10 especially. But just like cutting through all the bullshit and, figuring out who I am and who I'm not, and really celebrating that. And I want to build this community that creates a space for people to do that, and to meet other people who, maybe they're totally different, but we can celebrate each other for our differences and kind of get away from all the bullshit that's keeping us from enjoying ourselves.
And we're going to get into the Tiger thing because that's a big part of your music. So markandthetiger.com, not Tony the Tiger, but it's a different Tiger. Let's dive into that, man. What is the story of this. And is the tiger real? For the audience, I'm asking for. Is the tiger real, or what is it, man? What's the story?
For the audience, he's real. His name's Jeffrey. He, the tiger, I don't even, like, he's evolved. I mean, at this stage of the game, Jeffrey is kind of like my, like, spirit bud, best pal on this kind of journey of self-discovery. And so, you know, in this, there's a whole kind of backstory that I've created in my mind of like how he, you know, is this kind of like, it's like this Calvin and Hobbes-esque sort of like narrative. But originally, like way back in the day, this was just like something I created, you know, in college, like probably smoking in my friend's room. But it kind of became this identity when I was graduating, and then in my 20s, I just sort of became like fascinated with this idea of this. I called myself Mark Tiger. I was calling myself Mark Tiger when I first came out here. I was teaching yoga, and it sort of became this sort of alter ego that I could hide behind. And when I met my now husband, we were going out, and I told him, you know, I was Mark Tiger, blah, blah, blah. And he totally called me out, and he was like, you call yourself Mark Tiger because you don't think the regular Mark is good enough. And he was so right. So I kind of morphed it into, instead of it being Mark Tiger, this alter ego, I made it just created Mark and the Tiger. And it kind of became like this, I don't know, sort of like this personification of the journey, I guess, and personification of everything that I wanted to embody as Mark Tiger. I sort of put into this like animated character form, and it just kind of became this thing that went along with the music.
Now, I got to ask this too for the audience. Does the tiger at any point during the songs, does he do any kind of growling or singing or?
You know, it is so funny you say that. So I'm actually about to go in the studio this summer to do a new album, and I was just working on a demo and I found all these tiger growls. So I have like all this like jungle noise and these growls that kind of pop in here and there throughout the song. I'm really excited about it, actually.
I'm glad I got that exclusive on this interview. That's awesome.
Yes.
So speaking of that, you released an album not too long ago. It's out right now, Little Adventures. Tell the audience a little bit about this album project, because you got 8 songs on there, right?
Yeah, it's is it? Yeah, I think it is. And then 2 of them are just like alternate versions of other songs on there. So it's really kind of like 6 originals, and then there's 1 acoustic version and 1 sort of edited down version of one of the longer songs. But yeah, so Little Adventures is kind of like the amalgamation of all the different sort of puzzle pieces of me trying to figure out who the hell I was musically. And it's sort of like, I worked on these songs with this great producer. His name's Michael Parnan. He's out here in Pasadena. And I had written them over the course of probably like 6 years, and then we produced them over like the last 3 years. And it was kind of that thing where each song was sort of its own thing, and none of them really felt like they captured exactly who I was musically or as an artist, but they were all sort of a piece. And I wanted to throw them all together on this kind of like, you know, short album or little longer EP, to kind of celebrate all the different parts of this journey that had led me to figuring out, oh, this is what Mark and the Tiger is, and this is what it's going to sound like. And so I feel like that Little Adventures, that EP, really has laid the groundwork for this album that I'm going to go into this summer.
And once again, listen to I Am Refocused Radio, talking to Mark and the Tiger. You go to markandthetiger.com and check out the album right now. It's Little Adventures. And like you said, 6 songs, 2 little, not remixes, but, you know, little different versions of whatever the songs of Don't Play Games. You got the single version, then you got, you know, some other good stuff happening. So before we get off track, because I almost derailed, but I caught the train before it fell off the tracks. When you are dealing with this whole pandemic, I mean, it's the hottest question right now. I've been trying to help all aspiring artists who are trying to get to the level that you are, where they're releasing music professionally and they're in the music game. What has been some of the things you learned fighting through this pandemic, staying creative and staying focused on your goals to release projects and just furthering your career?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to take the pressure off. I mean, every single person that I know when this thing started was like, this is perfect. This is going to be the time that I do this project that I've been putting off forever. And like, in my mind, I told myself I was going to write a whole album back by October, or back by December or whatever. And, it never happened because, one, we were dealing with this crazy thing, and suddenly we put all this extra pressure on ourselves, and it becomes this total just crush for the spirit, I think. So, I mean, people who are out there right now and they want to make music and they want to do this, I think the first thing to do is just like take a breath and know that if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. And there's no time limit. There's no have to, and there's no shoulds. If you have a song in you that's got to come out, then it's going to come out, and it's going to come out when it's supposed to.
I'm going to do something I've never done on the show ever before. I'm going to have an interaction with the crowd, with people listening. So you listen right now on Focus Radio, talking to Mark. I want to do an exercise with you. I want everyone to take a deep breath. All right, here we go. All right, just like he said, go do it. Yeah, you have no excuses now. I mean, it's simply do it. Just go out there and make it happen, because when you think about it, right, that's one thing. But nothing in life happens until you do something about it. So with that as a segue, going back to you, Mark, with your experience, how is it like when you take something from nothing and it becomes a reality? Like for you, for example, you come out with this project. What was the process like of taking that out of your mind and putting it on the, on the album, on the microphone, the editing, the producing, all that stuff? What was that process like? Because people listening right now who want to be in your shoes creating music, teach us a little bit, man.
It's really amazing. And it's been interesting because now, like, it's sort of changed in the phases. When I was first doing this, and when I was first putting out music, and even I think maybe a couple of songs on that EP, like I Won't Give Up, or even anything to a certain extent. Like I play instruments a little bit better now, but when I was first starting, and I mean, even still a little bit now, I didn't play anything well enough to feel like I could accompany myself. And my music theory is, again, a lot better now, but it was pretty mediocre before. And so I would write these songs, and I would write the lyrics, and I would write the melodies, and then I would kind of be stuck. So I started finding musicians and finding people to help me. And I think that is like the best place to start, is find people who are doing this and collaborate with them, whether you hire them to help you, or whether they have a similar dream and drive and they want to help you out. I think that's just a beautiful way to get your foot in the door. And for me, when I was doing that, I was just so excited to finally hear my songs, have music behind them, and like be produced, and like I was so excited just for the whole process that I was just kind of like, yeah, that sounds great. That sounds wonderful. Like, I love it, whatever. And, now as I look back, I'm like, well, actually, I probably, if I had a little bit more discernment, then I would have changed this, or I would have changed that. And so as I bring everything into the studio now, I have a little bit more, or actually that's not true. I have a lot more, I want this to come in here, and I want these instruments to go there. And part of that is because I have the language for it now, but also, having put out some music and just been excited to get it out, now I have a little bit more experience and discernment to be like, okay, I did that. That was great. And now I really want to get nitpicky with it.
And that's true to not just what you're doing with music, but that's just an everyday life thing. If you ever want to get better at something, you just got to reflect and learn from past mistakes, or just sharpen the tool and get better at it, because unless you keep moving, idle time is not good time. So with that input too, what do you say to that music artist who may be a little bit more established or not just getting started, but they're still struggling with getting their name out there? They're struggling getting new feedback from listeners and stuff, because we all know Spotify playlists is like the number one thing that's talked about on social media right now. But when it comes to marketing yourself and branding who you are as an artist, what have you done personally as far as branding yourself and putting yourself out there?
I think authenticity is a huge thing. It's a really hard one, and I struggle with it myself. But we're in such a single oriented phase of music right now. Like, people just want a hit that they can listen to right away, and then they'll probably forget about it, and they want the next hit next month, which is cool, especially if you're a really speedy and hooky songwriter. But a lot of us aren't. But I do think that, like, because we're so inundated with so much content through social media and through all the other outlets that we have right now, we've gotten a lot better just as a culture about wheedling out the bullshit.
Yeah.
And so if you can be a person who shows up to your art and what you want to really bring to the table authentically and without fear, people will see that and they really respond to it. They'll get a million sunset photos and a million like driving down the road bops all the time. Those will never go away. But if you can be that thing that stands out and is a little bit more true and a little bit more authentic, that'll stand the test of time, I think.
You gotta trust the tiger in you. Hey.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, we're talking to Mark and the Tiger. Go to markandthetiger.com. When you see the success you have obtained with your music career thus far, what's next for you as an artist? What are some of the goals down the road that you're paying attention to right now and that you want to see come in the future?
I really want to just travel and put my show on the road. I'm stoked to have this new album to work on this summer. And then, honestly, now that things are starting to open back up again, I just cannot wait to get back on the road. I want my music out there, but I really want my face to be out there, with it. Like, I want to meet people and I want to interact with people. And as I said, I want to really build this community. And I think I'm hoping touring's the way to do it.
If you want to be a part of that community, you can follow him right now. I almost gave my own plug. Not there, but you want to follow him on Instagram. You want to follow him on Instagram, Mark and the Tiger on Instagram, and be part of that community. And when you see the opportunity right now, I mean, there's a lot of things going on, yes, but the vaccines are starting to take some good effect, and some light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, is hopefully in the near future. When you see the opportunities that we have now, not just as music artists, but as human beings, as people, what are some of the ways you hope to connect your listening audience to your music?
Well, again, touring, I think. I just got into TikTok, so that's kind of exciting. Hoping to put some music out on there. But do you mean in terms of just like, how do I want people to interact with it, or like physically, what am I going to be doing? Yeah,
like more like a personal thing, like how you want people to connect and draw from the songs you put out there in the world.
Well, so the songs that I'm trying to be as honest with my experience as I can, and I'm really hoping that people can connect with their own experiences. And so, like, for example, there's a song on that EP called Better. And I wrote that in like 2018 or 19. I can't remember exactly when now. But I wrote it when I was at a really rough point in my time. And it was when nothing musically was really happening. I was writing these songs, but I felt like I was getting older and I was never going to make it. And, it just wasn't going to happen for me. And I just had this moment of feeling like, well, I don't like this feels like I've wasted my life trying to do this thing that I love. And it was just this really low moment of wishing that I could start over and thinking like, if 5 years, maybe I will just start over. If 5 years go by and I haven't seen it, then maybe I will just start over. And so I wrote this song based on that experience. And since I wrote that song, now so much is changing. I have a manager and I'm making this music and all this stuff is, the snowball is rolling down the hill. But that was still such a really powerful and intense time in my life. And I've had a lot of people connect with me about that song and have shared similar stories. And, I want my music to have that kind of power where people listen to it and they're like, I went through a time like that. Thank you for putting it into words like this. Or, I couldn't understand what I was experiencing, but this helps me understand what I was experiencing. Or it's so nice to know that I'm not alone. That kind of vibe, that kind of thing.
And once again, talking to Mark and the Tiger right here on I Am Refocused Radio. Before we let you go, we got some time left on the clock. When you just talked about moments ago, you basically got real with yourself. You found out who Mark was in your music, and you pushed that, and then all these doors start opening up for you. You mentioned how you got a manager and got all these opportunities ahead of you. What do you say to that individual who's trying to find a purpose in life? They're trying to find their niche, what they're good at. What do you say to that individual? Just a general statement as far as how you were able to find your focus on your goals and your dreams.
I would say, I'm going to say it in two parts. So the first, direct answer I would say is just keep going, because everything that you are experiencing right now is what is going to show you who you are and what your purpose is and what you're supposed to be putting out. And then to add to that, when I was going through that time when I wrote that song I just talked about, I had a lot of opportunities sort of come up and then they disappeared. And I ran into a friend randomly in the grocery store right around that time. And I was kind of briefly just sort of chatting to her about it. And she said to me, she was like, well, the universe is just testing you. It's not just going to give you whatever it is. It has to make sure that you really want it. And that resonated with me so much. I can't even tell you. And it really just put things in perspective for me. How bad do I want this thing in my life? Am I going to stop because it gets hard? Am I going to stop because I get a setback? Or am I going to take those setbacks as fuel and let it drive me even further? And it has, and it's been really amazing ever since.
Sometimes setbacks are just a way of you having a pit stop and fill up the tank at the gas station.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I will echo that, man. I will echo that. You listening right now, you feel like you're stuck or you just frustrated because you feel like you're not getting opportunities that you want or deserve to have. Sometimes you just are in construction mode, and don't be so hard on yourself. Build yourself up with good people around you, like Mark is doing. Find a tiger inside of you and let that be your driven factor, because the X factor is when you show up. It's not when you just give up and say it's not for me, because the moment you give up, it's the moment you lose. You can't lose if you give it your all. Don't ever forget that. So I know I digress a little bit, but when we have a few moments with you, man, how can people stay connected to you, Mark, and how can they support your music?
Just go listen to it as much as you can. If you want to throw it on some playlists on Spotify, that would be amazing. I'm on, I think I'm on iTunes and all that jazz too, but I just share it, I just play it, and I hope you like it. If you want to find out more about me, my website's a great place, or else I'm pretty active on Instagram, and I put up a lot of stuff. And I've been doing every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. I've been doing just little short IG live concerts. It's usually just a few songs. Sometimes they're mine, sometimes they're covers, but come check it out, and they're pretty fun.
Awesome. Once again, like you just said, go to his website. You don't know the website? Man, I've been saying all throughout the show. So this is me winding back, but if you don't want to do that,
excuse anymore.
I'll tell you again right now, for those in the back who ain't listening, here you go. markandthetiger.com. That's markandthetiger.com. You can find all the links that he has for his social media, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and also Spotify. I know I lie a lot on this show because I always say it's the last question, but I know I have a little bit more time. So in this few 40 seconds we have left, if you could work with anybody in the whole world, if someone heard the show and they say, hey, I want to work with this guy, who would you want to work with, collab with, and why?
Florence the Machine. Florence Welch from Florence the Machine. She's one of the reasons why I love music so much. I love her stuff. I love her songwriting. But mostly when I was in my 20s, my early 20s, and I was kind of feeling lost and not sure what I wanted to do, it was going to see her at the Hollywood Bowl. I was all by myself. It was my first time I'd ever been there. And I was watching her fucking do her thing on stage. And that was the moment when I was like, that is what you're supposed to be doing. And I've been doing music ever since I saw her. And so I would love the opportunity to work with her.
Once again, want to thank Mark and the Tiger clearing both schedules out. I mean, I think the Tiger kind of hungry right now, so I'm going to let him loose and do his thing. But Mark, thanks, Mark, for being on the show today. I'm Refocused Radio. What would you like to say to your fans, man?
Just thank you guys, and let's just do it together. Let's do it as a team.
And like we say on every single show, man, on I'm Refocused Radio, you know the deal, you know the drill. Keep God first, stay focused, and peace.